First stop, the Cheshire Parklands, and as ever, RAC Rally supporters out in force. The tranquility shattered by the roar of the first car through, the Subaru of Britain's Colin McRae. A trouble-free start for the Scot. The battle for the Constructors' title is another major feature of the week to come, of course. Mitsubishi narrowly leading the way. Kenneth Eriksson starting well, 2 seconds off the first stage pace. Bruno Thierry hasn't had the best of luck in the World Championship so far, but the Belgium safely through stage 1, 8th fastest here. A flying start for Spain's Carlos Sainz, the Spaniard setting the pace at Tatton with the joint quickest time. Kenneth Eriksson was quick through Tatton, but his spoiler left somewhat tatty after a bumpy run. Mitsubishi's other rising star, Finland's Tommi Mäkinen, keeping tabs on the Subarus, sharing the quickest time with Sainz on stage 1. Francois Delacour is yet to win a round in the championship. His RAC off to a steady start though, 6th quickest here. But a rocky opening for Richard Burns. A first stage bump left his steering damaged and needing treatment. There was some eye-opening stuff from Alistair McRae. 7th fastest through Tatton. Malcolm Wilson is usually a good bet to give British fans a run for their money. He was off to a good start. The Group N world title already wrapped up. Rui Madeira is hoping his RAC rally proves a piece of cake. With a good year in the British Championships behind him, Belgium's Gregoire de Mavius should be well used to these conditions. And Jarmo Cutelletto has been in Britain all year too. The Finn safely through stage 1. So with 3 stages gone, the leaderboard looks like this. Colin McRae 2 seconds clear. The Mitsubishi's close behind. Carlos Sainz 12 seconds off the pace.
The 4-mile Mobile 1 stage here at Donington starts and ends on the famous racetrack but runs off-road in between. It's here that we have our specially timed televised section with its own separate trophy for the car recording the fastest combined time for the 2 runs. Here to give you an idea of what to expect, the man in our commentary box today, Barry Gill.
Well, we asked David Taunton, who runs his own rally school, just to give us a look at our stage in his Mitsubishi Galant. As you can see, it's a mixture of tarmac, broken tarmac and gravel. There's some very tight bends, and we've built in a yump just to add to the attraction. The cars will zoom out of this tunnel, which is just off the main Grand Prix circuit, just before Coppice. As they come out, they have a tight left-hander, then a tight right-hander. We believe, because Dave Richards has actually driven around it today, they'll get up to about 50 miles an hour, David. What do you think?
Well, I would hope it would be a little bit more than that in our case, but I would think 70 miles an hour.
Well, now we're seeing the real thing. This is Carlos Sainz, the man who's bidding for the World Championship. Sorry. This is, of course, Colin McRae, the man with all the pressure on him, emerging from the tunnel to be the first man to tackle this Top Gear stage. It's always a difficult day for the drivers on this first day, but you must be delighted, David, with what Colin has done so far.
Yes, he's set off in very sensible style, and it's one of those days when you can lose everything and not win an awful lot. So the real trick is to make sure you come out at the end of the day without any damage.
You presumably haven't had a chance to tell Colin what you think of this little stage?
Well, no, we haven't had a chance to speak, but it's drier than I've ever seen it before. You can see the dust there now. It really is dry conditions here.
And everything going well with this car, because we know you've had trouble with one of them.
Yes, but it seems to be working fine here. If you can see, this is the high-speed start of the stage now.
Yep.
Well, they're going to zoom down a very high-speed straight, and we're looking for them coming to the yump. And, of course, Colin is the first man through, so he will be setting the time for the others to follow.
Just going past the stop now.
So, Colin McRae, the first man to go through the Top Gear special stage, and we're waiting to see his time, the time that the others have to follow. Let's have a look in slow-mo just how he did it. And, David, you can criticise your driver because he can't hear you.
He's coming out of the tunnel there. That looks very tricky, the curbs through there. But he's a very neat driver these days, Colin. Just keeping it very tidy throughout. Four-wheel drive traction, of course, makes all the difference on these cars these days.
And a special differential as well, isn't there, David?
It's all electronic these days. It's all actively controlled by computers.
This is car 10, Kenneth Eriksson in the Mitsubishi, the other Japanese team, which of course is hoping to clinch the Manufacturers' Championship here. It's the third version of the Lancer. It's a superb handling car, David. It's clocked up 2 wins. It's had no fewer than 9 top 6 placings. Now that's some reliability, isn't it?
Yes, they've had a very good year. It's probably the best year for a long time, and they won the Asia Pacific Championship at the same time, so you can't take that away from them.
But you are determined to beat them here. Do you think you can do it?
It's going to be a very close run thing, and I think we'll get an indication now over this short little section of stage just how close it's going to be.
Well, on the left of your screen, you'll see Colin McRae's time, 1 minute 7.84. Eriksson, of course, only really at the beginning of the stage. Oops, and he's off it! My word, we didn't expect that, David.
He's gone really wide, and the hairpin there and again there. It's a little bit unusual for Kenneth. He's normally very tidy.
The strange thing about this Sunday, which some of the drivers say should be a taking it easy day, is that so many of the big names make mistakes on what looks simple, but of course it isn't as easy as it looks, is it?
Well, no, there's a lot of pressure on them, and you've got all the crowds out there watching and cheering you on. It's one of those days where the excitement and the adrenaline gets to them, I think.
Andrew Cowan has really done a superb job with this team, hasn't he? He's got it right mechanically, he seems to have the right mix of drivers, and of course he's been playing the Group N game and adding points. Now, let's just have a look again at what happened there, David. Take us through it.
Well, that's the first of the tight corners in the woods there, and he loses it on the first one, and it gets worse as he goes out of the next one onto the grass there.
So, let's have another look at it. I'm sure you won't like us keep showing this. I mean, was he caught out? He can't have been caught out by the change in surface, surely.
No, I don't know. It's, as I say, it just looks so unusual for Kenneth. He's normally the tidiest of them all.
Well, now we move on to the third of the big manufacturers. This is Bruno Thierry, 33 years old. He's supposed to be a bit of a tarmac specialist, so he should be enjoying this out of the tunnel. Coming down now to the first of our right-handers. He's gone off the Grand Prix track, under the tunnel, onto our special stage. What do you think of that performance so far?
Well, Bruno's, as you said, he's a specialist on tarmac, Belgian driver, brought up on the tarmac roads of Europe, but he's getting better all the time on the gravel, and I think a reliable performance from him on this rally will see him up in the top 5 at the end of the day.
Well, of course, he finished third here last year, and he's hoping a similar success this week will lift him to 5th place in the championship. He was 6th overall after Clumber, which isn't a bad start to the day, David.
No, I think you need to be sensible at the start of the day here, and I think that it's all too easy to get carried away.
Well, we know that Eric didn't manage to match Colin's time. Thierry, just coming up to the minute mark, 1:7.84 to beat. We wouldn't expect Eriksson to have been as fast after that spin, but Thierry going very steadily indeed.
It's virtually the same time as Eriksson there, so not a lot in it at the end of the day, but Colin's obviously got the pace.
Colin's still the fastest. And here he is again in slow motion.
It's a very well balanced car, the Cosworth. It was specially designed for motorsport, and Ford have got an excellent product in this.
Well, the next car we should see, of course, is the second Subaru.
That corner's getting slipperier there, Barry. I think they're sort of going wider and wider onto there.
I mean, are you surprised that Ford haven't had a more successful season?
Yes, I am, really. They've got a really good car, and the team should be good. No reason why they couldn't get the results.
Now, this is the second Subaru, one of Spain's most popular sportsmen. But of course, if Carlos Sainz won here and won the World Championship, he'd probably be fairly unpopular in Britain. Although we have to admire him as a driver and also as a sportsman, David.
No, he's a superbly professional person. He's a national squash champion, Real Madrid football player. He's done everything in his time. So and you just watch him in a car. He's magnificent on all surfaces. That's the great appeal about him. From the gravel here to the tarmac in Corsica and to Monte Carlo.
Has he recovered from that mid-season shoulder injury fully?
Well, I think you're seeing a pretty fair demonstration of that now, Barry. There's not a lot wrong with him now.
Well, he has won 4 rallies for you up to now, including 3 this year. And certainly those 3 wins would give him the title. If both he and Colin, God forbid, dropped out, then Carlos would, of course, be champion, wouldn't he?
Yes, well, hopefully that's an unlikely set of circumstances, but it would fall to him. But after all, he's had an incredible season. He missed a rally in the middle of the year because of the injury. Whoops.
Oops.
Not,
Oh.
yeah, that's perhaps not his usual style.
Well, I think we're probably going to have another look at that. As you can see, no one has managed to beat Colin McRae's time for this section up to now. Carlos certainly not after that, so we've seen Carlos, Sainz and Kenneth Eriksson have problems, and I think we're going to have another look now at what happened to Carlos. Talk it through.
Well, that's the breaking point. They're breaking down now. I don't know what gear. They're probably dropping down from 4th, 5th gear even, right down through the gears. The front wheels lock, back as well, and it's a tricky place just to get the braking exactly right. And that's what happened to him there.
Well, he's not had a bad start to the day, has he? You must be pleased with the way things are going.
He's always a very cautious starter, Carlos. Never takes any big risks, and he'll wait till he get into the forests to the north of England.
Well, the next car is Tommy Mackinnon, the 5th car to take the Top Gear Challenge, and this is, in fact, a Top Gear favourite, Tommy Mackinnon. He very nearly won last year's British Formula 2 Championship in the Nissan, and of course that earned him a place in the Mitsubishi Championship team. After he won 1,000 plates in a Ford. How do these drivers keep swapping cars and managing to do so well, David?
Well, he's staying with Mitsubishi for next season, and he's certainly come on form now. He's always been spotted as a talented young driver, and he's had a good opportunity now.
And of course he's hoping to help, I have to say this even though you're sitting next to me, he's hoping to help Mitsubishi get the Manufacturers' Championship.
Oh, he has to be one of our biggest threats as well, with the Kenneth Eriksson and Tommy. A very good combination.
So McRae's time still the fastest, but Mackinnon going very well indeed.
I think Mackinnon could be the closest one to Colin. He could be the challenge now.
It's always very difficult sitting here to see just how fast they're going with the close-up cameras, but you can see this man really pushing it, isn't he?
Now the breaking point where Carlos lost it, so let's see how he takes it.
The finish way.
Colin still picked him, there we go.
Now, David, you've been a co-driver. We're going to show you what it looks like from inside one of your cars. This is, of course, Colin McRae, who started the Top Gear line. Any observations?
Well, you can see I'm more interested in what the co-driver's doing. He's reading those notes off. He's telling Colin exactly what's coming up next. Each of the corners that's coming ahead, turning the page onto the next notes. And Derek's got a very important job there. Colin's listening intently. He's got to watch the road, listen, concentrate on what Derek's telling him. It's a very important job, that of the co-driver.
It's changed enormously, hasn't it? I mean, even, I suppose, even in your day, the co-driver was a navigator as well as a guiding light.
Yeah, well, these days there's not an awful lot of navigation. It's reading these notes precisely, accurately. You've got to be very calm.
This is a yump from the inside. Not too much of a problem.
These cars take yumps in their stride. They could sort of jump over it and not even notice it. So, driver's and navigator's eye view of Colin McRae's first run, and he is still the fastest on this Top Gear stage. While we wait for another car, just look at the crowds. A beautiful day, not the normal rally weather. Is that good for you or bad for you, David? Well, it's good for the spectators. That's the most important thing. I think standing out in the cold and the wet's not much fun, but just this lovely autumn day, the sunshine's wonderful for people. The cars, well, I think it's the same for everybody, so it doesn't make a lot of difference to us.
Tremendous crowds though today. I mean, they started coming here about 9 o'clock this morning, and there were some 7,000 people yesterday at the rally show. I mean, are you surprised how popular this sport's becoming, David?
Well, I think Colin's helped in that respect. If you look at the people out there supporting him, I bet half of Scotland's moved down south today to come and watch and cheer him.
It's amazing how many Scotsmen have suddenly appeared, how many people have found Scottish ancestry. It's almost like Jack Charlton finding Irishmen.
Yes, I think he's got a great following of people, and deservedly so as well. He's the real boy next door for these people.
And this is how Colin started. He took us all by surprise, I must say. But here he is, ready to go.
I think this is the second run here now.
The second run, Colin McRae. The first time round, he achieved 1 minute 7.84. If he does it again, he'll be, what, 3 minutes?
We're missing one car at the moment.
Yeah, I think the reason we're missing Delacour is because he had a broken drive shaft on the last stage. That was the Clumber stage. We were expecting him sort of limp in here and be a bit sideways. There is, of course, no servicing between that last stage and here. No servicing until after this particular stage. Yeah. So,
I don't know about Delacour, but if it is a front drive shaft or differential, I have a feeling that, well, let's wait and see. But drive shaft's relatively easy to change. If it's the front differential as suspected, then I think that's probably the end of Delacour for this event.
well, a bit of news for you, David. We've now got Colin's time for the whole of the stage. His time, 3 minutes, 51 seconds. And, of course, our part was 1 minute, 7.84. Here he goes for the second time. Can he beat that 1 minute, 7.84? Sorry, it is not Colin, it's Malcolm Wilson. I apologise to our viewers, but there's chaos here, probably because of Delacour. And this is Malcolm Wilson, surely one of the most popular rally drivers in Britain. Former British champion, prepares his car himself, and has said, David, that if he does win here, he's going to hang up his helmet, which would be a pity. He's a great contributor to the sport.
It would be a lifetime's ambition for him to win the RAC rally, and he's been so popular, winning the British Championship and having a bad accident in his early days when he broke both his ankles. I think that set him back enormously when he was only in his early 20s. But he's got a very good team now up in Carlisle, and I think he'll move on to team management very effectively.
Well, Colin's still the fastest man here. Malcolm not making any mistakes, hanging out in his customary style.
It's good to see so many British drivers up the front now. We've got a number of good drivers here today.
Well, it's certainly a change, because if you look at the championship, we've had 5 Finns, 2 Swedes, a German, Italian and a Spaniard. I mean, it's time we had a British winner. Now, talking of British winners, when we got Malcolm Wilson, oh, my word, I thought he was going to do it then. We're going to have a listen to Colin McRae to see what he thinks of things so far. Yeah.
This must be Colin's second run through the stage now, and he's just come out of the tunnel now, and let's see how he does compared with his first time. He's certainly set the pace for everybody here. I don't know if the stage is going to get any faster. Sometimes, of course, once you get a few cars through the stage barrier, it actually speeds up. They clear that loose surface off the top, and it will get a little bit quicker.
Well, what we're looking for, of course, just to remind people that may just have tuned in, is we're looking for the cumulative time over this 0.9 mile top gear stage. A stage within a stage. Oh!
That was a little bit close. Another straw bale gone to the wind.
Well, you see, this morning, Richard Burns, his teammate, touched what he thought was a straw bale, and there was a log behind it, which didn't do him any good at all. So, fortunately, there was nothing like that here, but that was quite a moment, David.
Well, I think that's... there's no damage looking at the back of the car, so I don't think Colin will be too worried about that one.
Well, we'll let you have a second look at it, just in case of anything you want to say to him tonight.
I think he'd rather be hitting the straw bales today than the trees in the forests of Kielder tomorrow, so that was a relatively minor instance as far as Colin McRae is concerned.
So he has given us the cumulative time, which we're going to see on our screen in a moment, which everyone else has to aim at. We think it's 2 minutes 15.27. Well, the crowd are certainly getting their money's worth. I'm waiting.
This is the Ericsson second time here.
Right, our second look at Kenneth Ericsson, who on the first run clocked 1 minute 9.67. Kenneth's got an amazing record here, you know, David. He's been second in 1990, 1991 and 1993. And the Mitsubishis seem to have a really powerful engine there.
Yeah, I think they've got a very good engine. The engines are prepared for them in Japan by their factory there. And Kenneth's results over the whole World Championship over the last few years have been... He's one of the most consistent and probably one of the most underrated drivers out there today.
He's certainly very, very keen to clinch this manufacturer's title. He's currently third in the championship, and he can't, well, he couldn't relax because he had Delacour chasing, but we think Delacour has probably vanished from the leaderboard and may, in fact, have vanished from the rally. Well, we haven't seen Kenneth make another mistake here, David.
No, I think Kenneth's looking for a third place in the championship this year. Of course, he's coming to join my team next year, so this is his last rally in a Mitsubishi.
What was it made you select him?
It's just his reliability. He's a very, very consistent performer. And, whoa, another little bit wide there again, but no dramas. If you look at the championship next year, of course, we go to Sweden, first of all. Events that really suit him, Thousand Lakes, Safari, Acropolis.
Now we're going to go in-car with him as well, so you can have a look at the inside of a Mitsubishi. As you said, the last time we're going to see Kenneth Eriksson.
This is where he went wide, of course, on this corner, remember?
Absolutely.
Whoa,
I'm sure he
just
does.
missed the telegraph pole.
Oh. No, we couldn't tell that from the other cameras. That was quite a close shave. Certainly seemed unfazed by that when he did his second run.
Of course, they're using the pace notes in Swedish, chatting away to each other.
It must take longer.
I don't know which is the best language. I think English is very good.
Well, this is Spanish. Now
now we're on Richard Burns. Here's Richard's first time through the stage. Now, of course, Richard's had a dramatic start to the day because first stage of the morning, he damaged the steering on his car, hit a log, and he's pulling his way back up the field now.
Well, it's a welcome sight, actually, because we were worried earlier that we'd see him again. I mean, he's still only 25. You've sent him to the Far East to pile on the experience, but I don't think he'll have forgotten British conditions. I mean, he is a former British champion.
No, he's had a lot of experience on not just the RAC, but of course British champion a couple of years ago. He's normally very tidy. I can only think it was an unlucky incident this morning when he hit a log in the side of the road and broke the steering.
How did he manage to get to the next service stop at Chesterfield?
Well, he actually repaired the steering column damage himself. He managed to fix it all. They carry spare parts in the car these days because the servicing's so limited that they have to be a little adept themselves to fix their cars in these circumstances.
I mean, if Colin wins the World Championship, do you see that Richard Burns could perhaps be the next British successor?
Well, I'm sure Colin's brother Alistair would have different opinion of that, but certainly Richard's got all the makings of it.
So only 1 second slower, so everything's all right with that car, so you must be relieved at that, David.
No, I think he's the fastest of the rest from what I can see.
Right, now here comes Bruno Thierry again for the second run. He's really had a disappointment this year. We were talking about Richard Burns servicing and doing his own servicing. Bruno Thierry was almost certain to win the Corsican Rally. Then he had a problem between service stops and he had to try and repair it himself with the mechanic standing helplessly on. I mean, that must be totally frustrating for a driver, Dave.
It was a very frustrating situation for Bruno because he really was going to win that event. And he's even closer. Now he's taking the rear rear bumper off his car on that particular occasion.
Now, that was something, wasn't it? Can't have been going So Thierry having an exciting run, to say the least. No wonder he needs servicing sometimes.
He looks like he's the lone remaining Ford now, if the stories of Delacour's demise. Here we see it again.
Well, we just hear, David, that Delacour has stopped with transmission failure, and I should think one or two of the fans of Bruce Thierry have stopped with heart failure. Now, this is our first look at Portugal's Rio Madeira. Now, he is this year's Group N World Champion, and his Group N successes have contributed massively to the fact that Mitsubishi could win the World Manufacturers' Championship. Group N results can be a bonus. If a Group N car finishes in the top 10, it gets its top 10 points as well as its Group N points. Now, that's not a bad strategy, David, is it?
Well, that's one way of looking at it. Of course, I think it's somewhat confusing for the general public. I'd rather have a nice, simple mathematical addition to see how you win a championship. But the Group N car is a very good car, the Mitsubishi Group N car anyway. It's quite different from the full-blooded Group A cars that Carlos and Colin are driving, or his teammates Ericsson are driving.
This
you see there, 4 seconds slower.
But it's the first Group N car we've seen. But last time, of course, we had Gwyndaf Evans doing really well. Now, here's someone we've been waiting to see, Carlos Sainz, doing his second run. His first run was 1 minute 9.19, and this of course is the last rally in which we'll see Carlos in a Subaru. He signed for Toyota for next year, and he signed just 3 days before Team Toyota Europe was banned for a year. So what on earth will happen to him now, David?
Well, that's something that I guess we're all wanting to know at the moment. We're hoping that Toyota might make some alternative arrangements, but I think we'll have to wait and see. Have you noticed that the second time through, they're not much faster? It's, they can do these stages blindfolded, I think. It always amazes me how quick they are the first time over them.
But he's not as quick as Colin. Colin is still the fastest cumulative time, and of course the fastest single time as well.
This is Gregoire now, Gregoire Demivius from Belgium.
Well, a Group 8 favourite, a great favourite with British fans.
He's done the whole British Championship here this year, of course, but in a two-wheel drive Formula 2 car. So I think this is his first time in a four-wheel drive car for a little while now.
Well, whilst we're watching Gregoire, let's just go over and see what Colin McRae has made of this stage.
Was that better second time round, Colin?
No, not really. We had the wrong tyres on, we were far too soft a compound, and the car was sliding all over the place.
So, have you lost time to other people there, do you think?
Lost time to the Mitsubishis because they're running a racing tyre. So if it had been wet, it would have been okay, but it's dried out an awful lot, so it's not a big problem though.
So, how does that put you between you and Kenneth Eriksson now?
I think probably just behind Tommy, maybe.
Or behind Tommy?
Yeah, but it's just very close, so it doesn't matter.
Good luck.
Well, talking of Tommy Mäkinen, this should be him. Our second look at the man who's really been in flying form today. Second overall after Clumber, and his first run here was 1 minute 8.66. His co-driver is Seppo Harjanne, who of course was world champion in 1985 when he's sitting alongside Timo Salonen. And we hear a lot about the drivers, David, but I know, as you've already said this afternoon, that you don't underestimate the role played by the co-drivers.
Not in the slightest. I think it looks very exciting from the outside, but I don't think there'll be many people that want to swap their places with Seppo just at this moment in time.
I mean, you can see why the Finns excite the crowds. Now we're going to have a look at the other McRae, the new British champion, Alistair. When he won the title in the Isle of Man, it was unbelievably the 8th time that the McRae clan had collared the trophy. He was, of course, following in the wheel tracks of his father Jimmy and his brother Colin. I mean, they really are quite a family, David. I mean, how do you account for it?
There must be something in the water up in Lanark. I could never worked it out, how they can all be just as quick as each other. And I think that, of course, Colin's overshadowing the achievements of his father these days. Who knows, Alistair's still coming along and gaining experience every year.
I suppose the question is, are there any more of them?
Well, they have got another third brother, but I think he's let these two get on with the job and stay at home.
Well, of course, Alistair is the new British champion. He amazed everybody in the Formula 2 car by winning the Vauxhall Rally of Wales outright, and he's a very determined little driver.
He's in one of Malcolm Wilson's cars there, and I think it'll take him a while to get really up onto the pace and back into four-wheel drive mode again, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him at the front of the field later in the week.
Well, perhaps one of the most exciting sequences we've seen this afternoon was Bruno Thierry in the Ford, and Tony Mason is with him now.
What have you been doing here then, Bruno?
I hit a small wall, I think.
A small wall? Oh, good. I'm glad it wasn't a big one.
But it's still in good condition. Anyway,
was that a good time? Was your second time through there better?
Yes, 2 seconds faster.
Are you happy with that?
Well, we're waiting to see who's going to emerge from this tunnel now. The crowd's obviously thoroughly enjoying it.
That's the first of the Formula 2 cars now coming through there, Barry.
Yeah, this is Jarmo Cutuletto, who was one of the superstars of this year's Mobile Top Gear Championship. In the Astra, he's shown some amazing turns of speed through the forest. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how well he goes in this Nissan Sunny, which is, of course, two-wheel drive.
It was a very similar car to the car he's been driving all year, and He's actually a little bit older than everyone thinks. Everyone thinks of him as one of the new flying Finns, but he's no youngster to the sport. Be interested to see the difference in the times and the speed between these 2-litre two-wheel drive cars compared with the turbocharged four-wheel drive machines that we've been watching so far.
As I said before, I'm also surprised how a driver can swap suddenly from four-wheel drive to two-wheel drive. I suppose it's all right into daylight, but...
I think the two-wheel drive training is very good for the four-wheel drive. They tend to understeer a little bit, left foot braking there. See the brake lights coming on there, but he's on full power. He's actually using his left foot on the brake there, Barry, just to try and get it to turn in a little bit better.
What do you think of the Formula 2 cars and their contribution to British rallying this year?
I think it's a good sort of learning ground for young drivers. They respond, they handle very well, but I think if you want the real excitement, I think the spectators come to see the turbocharged four-wheel drive cars.
And his time, you see, is 7 seconds slower.
He's looking slower than the Group N car, you see, by 2 seconds there.
Now this is someone people have come to watch. Malcolm Wilson, in his second run. His first run was 1 minute 9.36. He's got a major interest in this event, David. I mean, as you know, he's preparing Alison McRae's car as well. I mean, he must have his mind in two places at once.
Yes, it's not easy being a team manager and a driver at the same time. It's, of course, his sponsors there, Michelin. I think it's going to be an interesting battle between the tyre companies this rally. We've already heard Colin commenting on it, but I think the tyres are so critical to the performance of the cars.
Well, you were on the Pirellis. How many different tyres do you have to choose from?
Well, we narrow it down. We try and keep as few compounds as necessary, but we'll have half a dozen different types of tyres available to us, or we can cut the tyres to make them more effective if it's raining. Now, here's another Ford. This is Gwyndaf Evans, the Welshman who won the Formula 2 battle on last year's Network Q. Gwyndaf Evans, must be tired of people calling him the Welsh bus driver, but certainly one of the most popular drivers in our sport. This is the Formula 2 Ford Escort RS 2000, front-wheel drive, about 230 horsepower. He finished runner-up in this year's British Championship, and last year he was joint fastest with the big boys on one of the stages. I think if it gets wet and slippery, or icy or snowy for that matter, I think you could be surprised some of the occasions when Gwyndaf could feature up on the top of the leaderboard.
Well, he's certainly popular. When he gets anywhere near Wales, it's amazing. You get school children. I think it's a national holiday when Gwyndaf goes past.
Well, the last 2 days of the rally, he'll feel on home territory then when we head off for Wales.
Six seconds slower.
But he's marginally faster than Kaituleta in the other Formula 2 cars. So
that's interesting. So the crowd probably moving to get better spots. It's a very safe circuit for spectators. This spectator day is a really important addition to rallying, isn't it? People on their day off who can get close to the cars, get close to the drivers perhaps, and really enjoy themselves as a family day out. And you see a lot of young fans here, David.
Yes, I think there's safe vantage points for everyone. Of course, people going out into the forest tomorrow have to be far more careful about where they're standing and take a bit of responsibility there.
Right, now David, this is Alain Array, the 42-year-old Frenchman who was one of the big surprises on this year's British Championship. I mean, he came with the reputation of being a tarmac specialist, so he should like this, but he actually ended up leading the championship after 3 gravel events. He finished 4th overall in this Clio, and the Clio was a very welcome addition to the championship. A lively little car, David.
Yes, it is. Renault really entering the British Championship for the first time, and they're coming back again next year, which is good. But no, Alain's, as you say, his reputation for the asphalt, he seems to be getting to grips with the British forests very well. And I think you'll see how close they all are, these Formula 2 cars, and I think it's going to be a very close battle, as close in the Formula 2 category as it's going to be at the front of the field.
It's good to see a manufacturer like Renault in rallying. We all know. Sure, Damon Hill knows and Michael Schumacher what they've done for Formula 1, but it's great, and this could perhaps be a step into even more involvement.
Well, we'd like to see them build one of the new cars for 1997 under the new World Rally Championship regulations and challenge at the front with Subaru and Mitsubishi and Ford.
There's certainly enough good French drivers about.
No, that's for sure.
And now here's Richard Burns again. Well, as we said, he's had a trying morning, but we're sure he really is trying. I mean, he had 30 seconds road penalties. He's now running behind Malcolm Wilson, but I mean, it's better for this to happen on the first day rather than the last one.
Well, I think he was probably very fortunate to get through this morning, from what I understand. He broke the steering rack and had to effect his own repairs to it. We changed all the steering rack, the suspension on one side, and, well, as you can see, there's not a lot wrong with the car now.
How long did all that take, David?
Well, we only have 20 minutes at these service points, but we have all the right people there, the right equipment, so, and they've been practicing and they're well prepared for these jobs.
Well, now let's hear from his teammate, Carlos Sainz, hear what he's got to say about it all, the other World Championship challenger.
You were quicker the second time round there, Carlos. That better?
A little bit. Still, we found some of this in the middle of one bend, but it's okay.
Do you like this type of stage?
It's very easy to make a mistake and to lose a lot of time. So I understand it's okay for the public, but it's not my favorite.
I think you've got 2 Mitsubishis between you and Colin at the moment.
I think now Tommy's leading, and I think they took a better tire choice here, and I think they took us quite a lot of time.
So it's very tight.
It is, yeah.
Are you looking forward to the forest tomorrow?
Yes, we'll see tomorrow how is it in the forest.
Good luck, Colin.
Now here's one of the drivers with more experience than anybody else at this event, Stig Blomqvist. I mean, it's hard to believe he first entered this event in 1969, and of course he went on to win it twice in 71 and 1983. He's now 49, he's had 15 championship wins, and he's sorting out this new squad. And I just listened to this car. This is one of the new breed of kit cars. David, perhaps for our viewers you could explain exactly what is a kit car.
Well, firstly, Barry, I'm not so sure it sounds quite correct at the moment, but what the regulations allow modifications to these cars now, bodywork modifications, it's a 2-litre engine, front-wheel drive.
It was a 2-litre engine.
Well, maybe he's just lost part of the exhaust, but it doesn't sound quite right, that.
Sorry, you were saying, I interrupted.
No, it's just the bodywork modifications to the car, the kit cars.
Well, from the Skoda and the Swede to the Portuguese driver, Rubem Barrichello, the man who, with his Group N performances, as we've said, is trying to help Mitsubishi win the World Manufacturers' Championship. He's had a very good morning. He's obviously aiming for another top 10 points. Group Hall in his Group N Mitsubishi. When we last heard, he was leading Group N, and his first run was 1 minute 13.14 seconds. Now, this is the first run for Tappo Lokinen in the Volkswagen Group A Golf. He's 26 years of age, and he showed his class in the Scottish Rally this year, and he certainly promises to be another famous Finn. And I suppose I have to ask you the question, David, why do the Finns keep throwing up these rally drivers?
Well, yes, you say that, but on the other hand, we've had a few good, we've got the Brits coming along behind, we've seen a lot of those today. You've got Carlos Sainz from Spain, you've got French drivers in Delacour and Thierry from Belgium. It's not dominated by Scandinavians anymore, World Championship rallying.
Well, talking of Scandinavians, we understand that the Swede, Ericsson, has taken the rally lead by 2 seconds. So obviously it's all happening here as we look at Laukkanen in the Volkswagen. But of course we're only seeing part of this stage, and it's obviously getting very exciting and very close. The changes of lead today have been quite amazing. This is Demavius on his second run. Been holding a top 10 place today. He was third in this year's British Championship. He's certainly at home here, this Belgian. Let's have a look. We're looking at the cumulative time of 2:15.27. We haven't seen anybody match Colin McRae there. Obviously, Demavius. No, that's the second big incident, David.
Well, that's another Ford as well. It's the same thing that Thierry did on the same corner. And the same nationality as well. 2 Belgians, 2 Fords that did the same thing.
Not their day. Definitely not their day for the country that runs the common market. let's just look at that again, David. Take us through it, please.
Well, I think the marshals keep putting these bales back where they can be hit by the looks of things. It's the same place every time.
Yes, there's certainly a lot of straw about now.
And that's the jump, of course, there.
Well, now, this is the Yorkshireman who won the Group N category on last year's event. He's now back in a Ford Escort. It's Johnny Milner, of course. This year we've seen him out and about in a Nissan Sunny. And I think I've already asked you, David, how hard is it for these drivers not just to swap from two-wheel, four-wheel drive, but to keep swapping cars?
Well, the cars these days, if you think these four-wheel drive cars are not dissimilar in performance, obviously they're different in the layout of the cars, from the Cosworth with its inline engine, and you've got the Mitsubishis with a transverse engine. So the balance of the car, this car's particularly well balanced, as is the Subaru.
There he goes. Now, that's not a bad time. No, just 5 seconds astray from Colin McRae. Now, let's have a look at Alistair McRae in the Malcolm Wilson prepared Ford Escort. His first run was 1 minute 10.32. Is something hanging down there?
It's only the front of the car. There are lots of cosmetic additions to these cars, and they get knocked off regularly, unfortunately.
As we've said, he's had a very successful year in the Nissan Sunny GTI. He scored that sensational outright victory on the Vauxhall Rally of Wales, beating all the four-wheel drive cars, and he followed it up with a Formula 2 win in Ulster. And certainly he has not only the family pedigree, but the family excitement that shows at times.
It's interesting. Colin gets off the end of a stage these days now. This morning, and he asked what time Carlos does, and then he asked, what about Alistair?
Really?
So they're following the family fortunes in the team.
Well, only 4 seconds slower. Now, this is Sebastian Lindholm, who's just won the Finnish Championship in a Group A Cosworth. Today he's in a Formula 2 front-wheel drive RS2000. This is only his second time out in this car, but he won the Manta Rally in it last year. He actually got into the sport on a Ford scholarship, and I noticed that in Finland, in Sweden, in France, these scholarship schemes are becoming really important to find new drivers, David.
Yes, we've had the Shell Scholarship in Britain, and we've ourselves run young drivers. That's how Richard and Alistair came through our team in the early days. So I think you have to give the youngsters an opportunity, and it's paying off now. We get more and more new drivers into the sport.
What do you look for when you give a young driver this chance?
Well, it's not just the natural talent of being able to drive a motor car. These days they're ambassadors for the sponsors, for the manufacturers. They've got to be all round, and testing ability is not to be dismissed either. So they're very rounded characters. You can't just be the fastest driver in the world if you can't talk in front of the TV cameras or represent your sponsors effectively.
That's right, they have to be all things to all men these days, don't they? Because they're not just competing with other rally drivers, they're competing with Formula 1 drivers, footballers, boxers, tennis players, as world sportsmen.
No, that's quite right, and they're representing car manufacturers at a very high level.
Well, let's have another look at Jarmo Kutuleto in the two-wheel drive Nissan Sunny. He was 8th in this year's British Championship because he had accidents on the tarmac stages in Ulster and the Isle of Man. He will certainly be looking forward to the Forest, but he's not going badly here. And he was leading Formula 2 before the Donington stage. So he's obviously determined to build on the lead here, and a flying Finn again.
Yeah, I think he's regarded as one of the more spectacular of the current crop of Finns. They really scrabble for traction, these front-wheel drive cars. You can see the difference out of the corners compared with the four-wheel drive.
Well, let's now go over to Tony Mason, who's got someone else to talk to.
Oh, well, you're smiling, Gwyndaf. You must have enjoyed that.
Well, yeah, that was the best day so far for us. We haven't had a very good run up to now, but there we are.
What are your problems?
We had some brake problems on the first couple of stages, and I've done a couple of bad tyre choices as well.
But so where does that put you overall in the scheme of things in the Formula 2 section?
I don't know, I'm just glad to still be here at the moment.
All right. Anyway, you're due to go in again, so have a good run the second time.
Thank you.
Well, this is Robbie Head, who was the winner of Group N on the 1991 RSC Rally. He's another Scotsman, teamed up with the Renault team for its first season in rallying. He had a mixed season, but it ended with a very good result on the banks, and he was 13th in the championship. And he's certainly hoping that he'll do better next year when Renault have a new car, which I think is pronounced the mcrae.
Yes, it looks a very spectacular car based upon the same sort of regulations we were talking about before. It's going to be 2-wheel drive, 2-litre engine. They produce about 240, 250 horsepower.
And sitting next to him was, of course, Terry Harriman. Now, here's Gwyndaf, who, as we've just heard, is thoroughly enjoying himself, having a very good time indeed, and putting up some good times. Let's have a look what he did there. 2 minutes, 2:15:27. He's not going to beat Colin, but
well, it's a little bit unfair to compare him with Colin. Of course, we should be comparing him with the other Formula 2 cars, and it's Caitoletto and the Renault of Alain Auray, and I'm sure he's going to hold his own against those drivers.
I mean, as you say, the Yump holds no terrors these days, does it, the way these cars are designed?
Well, no, that's not the way to do it.
Well, we've seen... no, we said it was tight, we said it was tricky, it's certainly dry, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem, but we've seen a lot of people just going just too wide, hitting the straw bales, and of course, on an event where seconds count, at the end of the day, that's going to affect the leaderboard. Let's just look at it again. What did he do here, David?
Well, Barry's on. They're all using, or mostly using, a forest tyre here, which is designed to work in gravel conditions, and he was braking on the asphalt there. It's quite tricky to get your braking distance right. They're coming all the way down from probably 80 miles an hour to near standstill to go around that tight corner.
Now, another Renault. This must be the second look at Alain Auray. The Ulster Rally fans were so impressed with this man's driving, dramatic side of driving, as we've just seen, that they christened him Alan O'Reilly, which is, I suppose, the highest praise they can give him. But he's 42 years old. He's obviously got lots of experience, but he's lost none of his verve. And as I say, he could have won the British Championship this year in the first time out in the Clio.
Yeah, he's got a lot of experience in France, in French Championship events up in the Alps, and was particularly quick in a Renault there. But it's good to see him come over to Britain and do so well. Adds a lot of interest.
They have a lot of tarmac rallies there too, don't they, David?
Well, it's all tarmac really. The French Championship, they have a gravel series, but the primary interest in France is in the Asphalt Championship.
So let's just see how he does, and as David has pointed out, of course we have to compare apples with apples, not the Formula 2 cars and the Group N cars with Colin McRae, who's still comfortably in the lead. That was a really spectacular yump. I think when people watch these cars, they're amazed at how much sawing at the wheel the drivers are doing, David. I mean, it's
all
a
power
lot of
steering,
work,
remember? It's power steering. It's relatively light on the steering. It's not too hard.
Let's just look at him going over the yump. Here he comes. Well, a flying
light
Frenchman.
at the back. It's very light at the back, that car.
Now let's go to Tony Mason with Alistair
What
McRae.
the front end there, Alistair?
I'm not sure. Somebody said the spoiler was hanging off, but we haven't hit anything, so it must just have come loose.
It's dropped off like it on its own accord.
Yeah, nothing to do with the driver.
How are you liking the Escort? You're putting in some pretty good times.
Yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying it, obviously. Playing herself in a bit gently. It's new to me, been back in four-wheel drive, but enjoying it. The car's going very well, so can't complain.
What about this stage here at Donington?
Yeah, it's very good. I think this has to be the best spectator stage of the day. It's the most enjoyable for the driver anyway. It's good.
And what do you think of Colin's performance up at the front?
Yeah, he's going not so bad.
Not so bad.
Well, here's the old campaigner once again, Stig Blomqvist. The car's still sounding like Van Lawnmower, but he's still going, Dave.
Well, I'm amazed, Barry.
Yes. I mean, I don't think our microphones have picked up a sound like this on a World Championship rally for a long time.
Well, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of those old two-stroke Saabs that, of course, Stig started off his rallying career in.
That's right, the ones that you could roll over and just roll back onto their wheels.
He must have driven more different makes of motor car than any other driver out there today.
He's also, of course, had some embarrassing moments. I remember us covering a special stage at Sutton Park when he arrived as the last year's winner and finished up balancing on a park bench, and they couldn't get the car up. The Saab was just sitting there rocking on the park bench, which was a highly embarrassing moment.
But by the same token, he has won the World Championship in an Audi, so he's a very well experienced driver.
Well, his first time around here, as you see, was 120.49. He's kept it going. He seems to be keeping up this same steady pace, and I'd put money on it to be there at the end.
No, if anyone can get a car to the finish, it'll be Stig.
Well, it does look as if our Top Gear trophy is going to go to the man who's battling for the World Championship, Colin McRae. I mean, he really is in splendid form. He and his brother seem to be having friendly banter. And, of course, he hasn't got his team manager naturally at the moment because we've got him sitting next to us. You must be pleased with the day's work so far, David.
Yes, so far. They've got another stage to go, of course, before they finally get to Leeds and a well-earned rest tonight. And really, the rally doesn't start till we head off for Kielder Forest tomorrow morning. And I think that's going to be the longest stage of the rally there. 37 miles of it is going to be quite a decider for everybody.
This is Tapio Lackinen making his second trip in the Guts Little Golf. Again, two-wheel drive, 2-litre, normally aspirated. So the first time through here, you know, wasn't too bad at all. He's 28th in the rally before Donington and just moving steadily up the field. You were talking about that long stage, David. I mean, that must remind you of the stage in New Zealand where Colin seems to excel. I mean, I'm sure Colin's looking forward to that one.
Well, he's got amazing abilities of concentration, Colin. He can keep going through these long stages very well, but I think Kielder and its long straight is going to be very different from the twisty Motu stage in the middle of New Zealand.
And have you had any weather forecasts at the moment?
Well, the forecast we had, the long-term forecast, was this type of weather throughout the next few days. So it's bright, clear skies, probably no rain. So an unusual RAC rally, that's for sure.
A very fast rally, the rally hard on the cars, lots of concentration. What's the winning formula going to be?
Well, I don't know, but it's certainly different from previous years where it's been wet and slippery. I think that tyres really will come into their own. Choosing the right compounded tyre, it's going to be really hard on tyre wear, and I think that's just choosing the right tyre for the occasion is going to be one of the deciding factors on who wins this event.
Well, David, we've certainly enjoyed having you in the commentary box. You've added enormous expertise. I'm sure you've been using it to look at other drivers and other cars and their performance as well. I'm sorry we have to give you the news that this is Thomas Abrams we're looking at the moment, but the news seems to be that the Mitsubishis are leading at the moment. They're certainly piling on the pace and going very quickly indeed for that Manufacturers' Championship.
Well, I think it's only a handful of seconds, Barry, and as I said, the real rally is going to start in the Forest of Kielder tomorrow morning.
And we're all going to look forward to that. Well, our Top Gear stage has shown that even the greatest drivers can be vulnerable, that cars can actually stall. That was nice and timely for us, Thomas. So, a safe stage, a fast stage, an interesting stage with Colin McRae fastest, and Dave Richards has been sitting next to us hoping that one of his drivers would be champion, and we daren't ask him which one. Back to Steve Lee.
That's almost all the action for now. Our thanks to our commentary team, Barry Gill and Dave Richards, plus Tony Mason down with the drivers. Well, this is the Network Q RAC trophy for the fastest combined time here at Donington over our Top Gear rally report. You can see it there, which currently looks set to be handed over to Colin McRae by the Lord Mayor of Leeds, Councillor Peggy White, when the cars arrive there this evening for an overnight halt. Finally, before we go, your chance to win the rallying trip of a lifetime.